Today, we're doing a blue-black ink by Sailor called Blue Black. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around to the parts you're most interested in, or if you watch the whole thing, I'd appreciate you. You can follow me on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen inks as much as I do, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then inked up this Retro 51 Tornado with a broad nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for this video. I always standardize some of my writing samples by using Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper, although I do use more papers, and some of those will be seen later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jentle 159 with a Goulet 1.1, a Jentle X 450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jentle X 750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 10 seconds to dry. The medium is darker than the extra fine, not quite as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 18 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 20 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 29 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get any. And Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather spread, halo sheen. We do get some shading through the writing. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. Again, we do get spots of shading through this writing. 12 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and it has spots of shading throughout. 20 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color Scrubby for both show a little color variation, far left to far right, and that's the spotting that we get in the writing. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see a gray across the bottom, and then a very nice blue that's pushed its way up, and that familiar really dark line at the top that comes with a lot of blue-black inks. Now the one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And that gray very much stayed on the bottom, so did some of the blue. The rest of that blue pushed up, and we still have that line across the top that is that familiar blackish line that comes with blue-black inks. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I feel perfectly good using this in a note-taking situation because I can read it without a problem. Now, water is not doing a lot to move this ink off the paper, although water's all that I needed to get it out of my pen. Pen flush is doing a whole lot more than water did. It's really starting to break it up, but there's a lot that's being left behind. And the 1/3 bleach solution is taking it entirely off the paper, but it's also leaving this kind of light brownish staining there. I test viscosity or flow with a tilt test that I'll link down below in a description or in a card. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Sailor's Blue Black has a viscosity of 1.23, making this a super wet ink. Wow. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average all of those. Now, for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Sailor's Blue Black has an average dry time of 18 seconds, so despite it being super wet, its dry time is normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Sailor's Blue Black, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a nice red. I went with Krishna's Manavadam. The second writing sample is done on Life, Levenger, and Franklin Christoph paper. Here we're looking at Life paper. Very nice paper. It's one of my favorites. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does have some shading that occurs throughout it. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, still some very nice shading throughout this writing. 10 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, about the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, and still some very nice shading. 19 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us color variation, far left to far right, and that's what we get in the writing. Levenger paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a tad lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both are showing us no color variation, and we didn't get any. And last up is Franklin Christoph paper. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 6 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both are showing us no color variation, and we didn't get it in the writing, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Sailor's Blue Black? This is a slightly blue-leaning blue black that performs very well. It doesn't offer very much shading, and it does not have the resistance that you would see in a bunch of their Jentle inks. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? Your drier fines are going to give a much duller blue, but your wetter mediums or wet broads are really going to put down a nice tone with occasional marks of shading. I put out a new ink review every single day, so that if you're not already subscribed, I'm going to remind you, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.